Hello and welcome to my channel. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you were walking down an empty street, a little bit later than you would have liked? Maybe you had put in a few extra hours at work, or maybe you were just catching up with your friends and you lost track of time. Either way, you're here now, in this dark little corner of the world. Did you get that feeling too? That unsettling, sinking feeling that you're not as alone as you thought you were. But that's crazy, right? You didn't see anyone. You looked. Many times, in fact. Not like they can disappear or something. Or maybe. This is a story from someone in this exact situation. Except she had the bad luck of finding out why she didn't feel so alone. This actually happened quite recently. I've been having to go to therapy ever since to get over it, but I've legitimately been scarred. I'm sorry if this story feels like I'm rambling. Writing has always helped me, and maybe if I write now, I can get over it faster. So, a little backstory. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I have a daily routine. And as part of that routine, I go on either a long walk or a jog almost every day. I've been doing this for years now, mostly on the same path, and so I'm pretty used to it. You know that feeling when you're driving back home from work and you're just kind of on autopilot because of how familiar you are with the route? I guess that's what I felt like when I jog. On one particular day, however, I was a little more alert than usual. I only know this because I remember seeing a man on my jog. He was sitting on the park bench, mostly minding his business. Don't know why I even remember his face because I saw him for all of 10 seconds while passing by, and there was absolutely nothing special about him. Anyway, I continued with my day and even week. Nothing really spectacular happened, just plain life. Maybe 8 or 9 days later, I was in the grocery store. I was sort of in a hurry because my boyfriend was coming over in a few hours and I wanted to cook him something. I only mentioned this because I was really preoccupied thinking about exactly what I needed and getting out in time. Anyway, I take something off the shelf and I'm mindlessly backing away when I walked right into him. I apologize, he says no problem, and we go on with our lives. I don't even remember who he was. I just felt like I'd seen him before somewhere. Only on my drive back did I realize he was the same guy on that park bench. But then I also realized I never really heard him come up behind me. And was he just standing there or something? It's not like I moved back 10 steps. I just stepped back. So he must have been really close and facing me? But why? Felt weird. I go home and cook dinner, but this was still bothering me. I even told my boyfriend about it, but he told me I was overreacting and I have this tendency of making things all about me. I broke up with him, by the way. Not that night, but I should have that night. This was basically the beginning. After this, things moved fast. I started seeing him everywhere, literally. I felt like other than my office building, I would see him everywhere. Obviously, I was very creeped out. Still, my boyfriend did not care. I just didn't know what to do. Even if I call the cops, what am I gonna say? I keep seeing this person around my neighborhood who maybe also lives in the same neighborhood. He's never spoken to me, approached me, or anything. I just see him around. I wish I would have though. I don't know what they would have done, but maybe it would have scared him. So one day, I went on a walk at night. I know, it was very stupid of me. I'm still angry at myself about it. But I hate that I live in a world where I can't even go on a walk at night in my relatively safe neighborhood without living to regret it. So I'm walking, listening to some podcast, and I hear something behind me. I turn around and there he is. Not right behind me, several steps behind me, and he also looks like he was just going on a walk, fidgeting with his phone. I'll admit, I was freaked out, but I guess my boyfriend had gotten to me. I mean, weeks of this guy not doing anything to me, and my boyfriend saying I was making a big deal of things, and frankly, being pretty rude, just assuming some random guy was stalking me. All that had gotten to me. I went against all my instincts and continued walking. I did, however, turn off my podcast. Proud to say, I'm not that stupid. I continued walking, and in a few seconds, I could hear him get a little closer. I didn't turn around this time, but I could gradually hear his footsteps get a teeny bit louder. At this point, I was walking fast, didn't even realize it. And he was walking fast too. He was way too close at one point and maintained my pace no matter how much I picked it up. Thankfully, I was close to home. I all but dashed inside and locked my doors faster than I had in my life. I checked all the windows, balcony doors, everything, all locked. I also had a security system that my dad had installed for me when I moved in. It was his housewarming gift. I remember thinking it was so cute of him to want to protect me as much as possible. Now I have half a mind to move back in with my parents because obviously they were the only ones who knew what they were doing. The next day, I was at work. Now let me tell you, I love my job. I'm almost always very into it when I get in the zone. This was one of those days. Employees in my building have a card system. You just have to swipe in and out, and basically you have access at any time of the day. There's also security at all times. I definitely felt very safe here and like I could finally let my guard down. Well, I'm working, and at this point, my receptionist called. She said someone had delivered flowers to me. It was pretty close to my birthday, and my boyfriend had told me he had a surprise planned, so I thought this was that, and went on with my day a little bit happier. That night, I decided I would go over to his place instead of mine. They are on opposite sides of my workplace, so I didn't want to go home just to get back in the car and drive to his place. But he was running a little late at work, so I had to wait a little longer too until he was done so that I could pick him up on the way as well. I decided to just get some of next day's work done until then. At around 9:30, I went outside and was walking towards my car. Everything was normal till now. I was kind of happy that I didn't have to go back home. I really didn't want to. So I get inside my car and put the flowers on the next seat. Then I thought to myself, he'll sit there anyway, so let me just put them in the back. I didn't have to, now that I think about it. He could have just put them in the back himself, or even held on to them. They're flowers, they're not heavy. But for some reason, I did think that. And before I put on my seatbelt, or even closed the door, I turned around to put the flowers there. And there he was, crouched down on my fucking floor. I lost it. I jumped out of there so fast, screaming for my life, slammed the door shut, and I had the presence of mind to lock them. The security guards came running over, and so did a few other employees. We called the police. They came over and escorted me to my boyfriend's house. I was really shaken up. They obviously arrested him, and they said they found some pretty weird stuff at his home too. Pictures, clothes, not even all mine. Some different women. Turns out I was just his latest stalk. I didn't think he ever did anything like this with anyone else before though, thank God. Probably because they all got creeped out at some point and confronted him and scared him off. And I was the only one that didn't. I'm just so angry with my boyfriend. I don't care if it's irrational. If he had listened even once, I feel like this wouldn't have happened to me. But I know it's more my fault. I'm working it out with my therapist. You know the best part though? If I had not gotten those flowers that day, I would have probably been dead by now. And my boyfriend didn't even send them. My parents did. This story really speaks volumes about intuition and just how powerful it is. The next time your brain tells you something is off, listen to it, or else you might not live to tell the tale.